Ada for getting upset that my sister's fiance pulled me aside and patted me down at their wedding. Despite the fact that the title is ludicrous, we'll go ahead and use it. The past 6 months have been spent in rehabilitation from a prescription medication addiction. I am 24 years old and have been clean for 6 months. Until I was completely bankrupt, I abused until I was rescued on more than one time by my older sister. Her presence in that condition must have been tough for her to see, since she is my best friend. A year and a half ago, she met her fiancé, who at the time was just vaguely acquainted with me since I was the addict's sibling. You can see why my brother isn't the biggest fan of my job when you consider how much I put his sister through. Despite this, she invited me to her wedding last week, since I'm her brother, and she wanted me to be there to share in the joy with her and her newlywed partner. The reception room is bustling with activity when I arrive, and my brother-in-law is greeting people as they go through the door. When I walk by, he pulls me to the side of the room and starts patting me down in front of everyone, stating that he needs to make sure I didn't bring anything into the building. After all, what's the point of not doing it? When I see him approaching, I instinctively step away and beg him not to come near me again. In his words, I should calm down and accept that if I want to remain here, he must do whatever he must in order to make it happen. I tell him that he's making a fool of himself and try to go by him as soon as I possibly can. At some point throughout the process, he approaches me and tells me that he does not want to throw me out, but that, if it comes down to it, he would. I informed him that he's making an attempt to seem tough, but that it's just making him look silly as a result of his actions. This has gotten to the point where I'm almost yelling in his face at this point, which is a little embarrassing. People on the street got in between my brother-in-law and me and separated us, asking him to drop it. His reaction was that he would do so, but that if I go out of hand, they can deal with it. After that, I just wandered around looking for a seat wherever I could find one. My relatives told me that I should have just let him do it, that I was being like a jerk, and that I would have something to hide after the reception if I hadn't done it myself. The fact is, I do not feel he had the authority to pat me down, especially in front of other people, and I do not believe my answer was too aggressive. In reality, he was the one who was acting in a jerkish manner, wanting to instigate conflict in order to make himself seem strong. My sister has been defiant in her refusal to take a stance on this matter. Ada. Story 2. Ada for ruining my future SIL wedding-to-be. So, I've been with my boyfriend, a 34-year-old man, for the last 2 years. My mother is very homophobic and effectively kicked me out of the house when she discovered that I was when I initially graduated from college. She would attempt to exert control over me throughout my life. She would attempt to dictate what I wore and who I hung out with in order for me to conform to her ideal of the perfect kid. To give you an example, I like knitting, and my mother would throw away all of my knitting accessories since it wasn't a boy's pastime. I always told her that it was her own responsibility for sending me to an all-boys school and that I was born with 2 pairs of glasses. My siblings have always been supportive of my choices, and we are quite close as a result of this. My elder brother is getting married to his long-term girlfriend, and the wedding will take place in July of 2022. His fiancée is wonderful, but her family is very anti in nature. Her mother and mine get along really well and participate in a variety of things together. Over the years, I've accompanied my mother on LC trips. I like my brother's fiancée, but she has a tendency to want to please everyone around her, which means that when I received my wedding invitation, I was surprised to see that I was the only one who did not have a +1. At first, I believed it was a mistake, so I phoned his fiancée, since I knew she was in charge of the guest list and RSVP, and she informed me that they had to reduce the amount of invites due to COVID. But I checked with my siblings and they all received a +1, so I assumed it was a mistake. This greatly irritated me and my boyfriend, especially since he is quite close to my brother. They went to evening together. I phoned my brother, who of course was completely unaware of the fact that I didn't have a +1 and assured me that he would take care of it. The next day, I received a slew of text messages from my sister, chastising me for talking to my brother and telling me that I should have accepted just the one invitation. She said that she did this in order to avoid any conflicts between me and her side of the family, as well as my mother. Her other point of contention was that she didn't want me and my fiancé to be the focus of attention during her wedding. She informed me that she would give me the +1, but that I will be destroying her wedding if I do not do so. I've spoken to friends and family members, and the most of them are on my side, but others have pointed out that it's her wedding, and that she has the right to invite whoever she wants to attend. It occurs to me that I may be this since my mother's subtle homophobic statements no longer touch me, but I do not believe it is fair to expose my girlfriend to them and her family's homophobia, especially given that it is her own wedding. Edit. Hello, everyone. I'll make an effort to read them all. A few of you have expressed concern with my use of the term lifestyle, and to be honest, that is how I have always referred to my way of life. As a child, that was how my mother constantly referred to my life, and it has stayed with me to this day. But I understand how it may be destructive to our sense of self. I feel like it's something I've absorbed. Edit 2. I haven't disclosed the messages to my brother just yet. In a few days, my boyfriend and I are going to have a game night together. My boyfriend and I spoke about what we should do, and we'll speak to him about it then. I believe you are correct, and I believe I should send him her messages. Update. After my BF and brother had their gaming night, my BF invited me over to our game room, where we discussed with my brother about his gaming experience. We informed him that we both loved him, but that we would not be attending the wedding. My brother was visibly unhappy until I followed the advice of many of you and showed him my FSIL's messages, at which point he became more understanding. Angry would be an understatement. He even phoned up my sister-in-law in front of us and insisted that she apologize to both me and my boyfriend. She did, but she stood by her actions and provided my brother with an explanation of her reasoning, the same reasons she gave me when I first confronted her. He attempted to fight with her, but she just informed him that she would speak with him after he returned home and then disconnected up. It took some time, but my boyfriend eventually managed to calm him down and we were able to speak about everything. The man assured us that he would never hold it against us in the event that we chose not to attend, despite the fact that he would have preferred for us to do so. He assured us that he would never want us to lower our standards only to ensure his fiancé's happiness. He ended up staying the night at our place, since I didn't want him to drive while he was that unhappy and agitated. We couldn't sleep at the end of the night and ended up talking virtually the whole night. I was surprised to hear him say that he now views my sister-in-law in a different light, because he believes her family will have too much power over their relationship. Our mother understands that she does not have that kind of power over us, but he is concerned that his mother-in-law will try to control his future wife. At the conclusion of the conversation, he indicated that he may not want to attend his own wedding before doing anything risky. I reminded him that he needed to get some rest and give it some serious thought. He slept till 1 p.m. and then returned to his house. We received a text message a few days later informing us that the wedding had been postponed and that my brother and his fiancé had taken a break from planning. Our offer to let him stay with us for the time being if he wanted some distance from his fiancé was accepted, and he accepted. In the end, both my boyfriend and my brother agreed that I made the correct decision by revealing him the messages, stating that he had a right to know who he was getting married to. We appreciate all of your assistance in assisting me through this tough time, and I hope you find this update useful. Edit. I was not expecting this to go off in such a big way. I'll make every effort to read every remark and respond to as many as I can. Thank you very much for your kindness.